Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, come one, come all, hear ye, extra, extra, the banter boys have returned to the radio. It is their triumphant return. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I am Tim, and as always, I'm joined by Kevin. It is good to be back for the first time in months, and we are actually on pace to be bringing you guys more content every week.
Yeah, first time in months is really closer to almost a year at this point, I think.
Yeah, that's true, because the last shows we really did were for the Star Wars series that we did, and that was kind of a one-off kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's crossed over the 6-month mark, so I think technically it's closer to the year at this point. So
yeah, it's been a while. True. That's kind of crazy. I have a new studio. I am living in my brother's abode. It's kind of nice. And I'm happy to be back. I'm so glad to have the time to do this now and to be able to schedule this out. And we're back to not being able to talk to each other about pop culture during the day. And it's kind of exciting, but at the same time, it's a little frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. So to that point, man, what have you been up to the past couple months?
A lot, I guess. A lot of work, a lot of exercise, and then also studying and taking the GMAT. I finished that on Friday and getting ready to go to grad school, start my MBA process in January, awesome. Which isn't nearly as exciting because I'm starting the process as it is for you having finished.
Yeah. Process. So I think some people may know or may not, but got my architectural license. It's finally done. So finished those 7 exams and got that all shipped off and put to bed, so to speak. And between that and also trying to get into somewhat of a better shape, we should go back a year and look at I want to look at the Google Hangouts to see.
I did that the other day whenever we were talking about rescheduling or getting the schedule back on. I went and looked. I was like, all right. I said both of us look a decent amount different back then. Yeah, it's Kevin and I. We have a very close relationship when it comes to pushing each other with stuff, and we become not competitive, but we run kind of parallel paths. And as it's going to sound pretty cheesy, but like push each other along those paths. And I think that the past year has been very much a good example of that.
I think
in very many aspects.
Good and bad, right?
Whenever dude,
specifically.
Completely. Yeah, we just we're both sitting with a giant bowl of steaming bulgogi, or not bulgogi, bibimbap in our stomachs, and a bowberry biscuit but for the same thing, Kevin just beat my ass up and down the hills on up in his neighborhood, and we're just went for a run and feeling pretty good, actually. And I think I was telling you, I got my cold brew sitting here. I got a big glass of this. I'm not going to sleep because I
was going to say, I don't know how the hell you're doing that at 9:30.
Been up since 6. Went to bed at midnight last night because of Stranger Things. Going to be more of that because I finally started that last night. We'll talk about that in a minute because that's been one of the biggest things to hit the internet or hit pop culture in the past. It's only been out, 2 weeks? And pretty much I feel like It's crazy. It's that old Jim Gaffigan bit whenever he's talking about, I saw Heat.
It feels like it's been two months at this point.
It's crazy because he jokes about that. That was back in the day of VHS pretty much, in the early days of DVD, I guess, because it was early 2000s when he's talking about, seeing a movie 5-6 years later. He's like, no, I want to talk about it now. But that's how I feel about watching this shit. Like, I felt bad enough being a couple seasons, but like being 2 years behind on Silicon Valley and not knowing about, not having watched that. And then it's even worse. So with that, and like with HBO shows or anything that comes on TV, it's a little less embarrassing, I guess, because everything's week to week. But Netflix, it's like, how the hell have you not watched this? It's been out 2 weeks. Like, I want to talk about this now.
Yeah.
I haven't had the time, and now I do. And I'd been putting it off because I was like, So 2 things happen with me with Netflix shows. Either like I try and force myself to watch them, like Jessica Jones, which completely I'm going to have to try and force myself to go watch it again because Luke Cage looks awesome. And I might have to watch that to get some backstory, whatever. Or I get to the point where I try and watch it in a night or 2 nights. And I started Stranger. I'm like, last night I was like, this is a bad idea. I got in bed at like 11. I'm like, I've been watching Silicon Valley again, and I finished the last episode again the other night, and I was finally have got to figure out something else to watch. Like, I've seen, and usually my bedtime shows are stuff that's like kind of throwaway television that I like, like Anthony Bourdain shit. And then I'm like, well, all right, I'll start it. And then 12 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, I want to start another episode.
Yeah.
Because Toothless is my boy.
So he's actually got like that's his real teeth. Like he has no teeth.
Yeah, I imagine that they played off of that. They yeah, that's interesting. That makes me wonder if like for instance, maybe not the best example because they're both I guess deformities in a way, but and I don't say this to be offensive at all. Just talking about Walt Jr. from Breaking Bad. It's like, was that part of the character before he got cast? Did he get casted because of that? Or was he cast and then they're like, okay, we need to play off of this. He's such a good actor that we need to somehow fit this in, explain what's going on with him. Right? Like, did those brothers say, okay, we need to find a kid who has this cranial dysplasia and or do we find, or, are we just going to explain to people that this kid just doesn't have teeth? But
yeah, I don't know. It's great. And the whole time I'm watching the show, I kept thinking like, wow, they made that look really good. And then I saw his Instagram and I was like, oh, he doesn't actually have his front teeth. So that was pretty funny. Yeah, so what are you thinking about it so far?
I think, first of all, have you ever watched Monster Squad? Did I ever make you watch Monster Squad?
No.
Okay, so we're going to do that. We'll do a banter goes to the movies. And after I finish Stranger Things, I'm going to make you, since you've already watched Stranger Things, when I finish watching Stranger Things, you're going to come over. We're going to watch Monster Squad. And you're going to see a lot of parallels because Monster Squad is about this group of kids. I got my dog hanging out, and he's excited to see me getting up in my lap. So it's this group of kids. They have this club that's all dedicated to these cult monsters. So it's all dedicated to like the old Nosferatu or not, I guess not Nosferatu, but like old Dracula with the cape and then to the Mummy and the Creature from the Black Lagoon and Wolfman and all this stuff. Right. They get together and they have all these, like they have a clubhouse and they get together and they tell stories and they fraternize, whatever. And then those monsters end up getting summoned and they end up coming to life. It's a very campy 80s, but it is very, very much, I see a lot of that in this. And then also it's kind of reminiscent of Super 8 to me because it's, the kids going on an adventure. Yeah. And it's, dude, it left me hanging at the end of the episode, which, I mean, that's one thing I will say about Netflix shows for being binge watching. They don't, for like having the next episode available, they really don't pull any punches in terms of leaving you hanging because they still want you to push over to the next episode. And I guess with the girl showing up at the end of the first one with the kids, I'm like, okay, I need to watch this again. Like I need to watch the next episode. Yeah. I know that from everything that you've talked about, you enjoyed it quite a bit, right?
Oh yeah, I thought it was fantastic. So to that point about Monster Squad, it's funny. I've got a clip for you to see after you finish it because it's got some spoilers on certain things that happen. But I think that can be said about a lot of 80s movies and shows. E.T. primarily, there's a lot of homages to E.T., Alien. There's a lot of those. The Goonies, a big one. Yeah. But that was what was so great about it was that it took all these bits and pieces of all. I think that was what I loved so much about Mr. Robot the first season, and still enjoy a great deal. I'm still kind of waiting for season 2 to catch its footing. I'm a couple episodes in that. We can talk about that too. But yeah, I loved everything about Stranger Things from that perspective. That the fucking soundtrack out the gate was incredible.
Oh, you mean the? I forgot to look this up. I wanted to see if it's the same people who did the intro to *Halt and Catch Fire* that did the intro to Stranger Things because it's so reminiscent of that.
I don't think it is. I looked it up. It's by a band. It's these two brothers, I think. Oh, no, that's the two brothers that are directing it. All I know is that they have a sub-band called Survive, and there's a space between every letter. But this is their first actual theatrical sort of soundtrack work. They have nothing on their IMDb page or anything like that. But yeah, it's very similar to *Halt and Catch Fire*. You're right.
I was thinking more from just from creative aspect, maybe not even so much from the music, but like I don't know, the way that
it's a lot like Tron too. Tron's very similar too.
Yeah, very.
But yeah, it's very fitting, I thought. And Winona Ryder is incredible in that show. And one of the things that's interesting that takes place throughout the show, and I'm interested to hear your perspective on it, is I think each one of the character subsets and subplots are really great on their own. And it's interesting to see how you phase in and out of interest for each character arc and each sort of thing that's taking place on the show over the course of all 11 episodes, to see them all come together, or maybe it's 12 episodes, I can't remember, see it all come together at the end. Because Winona Ryder's character has one thing going on, obviously. There's the kids, and then there's not Will, but the other kid, not Winona Ryder's son, but him and his brother, or him and his sister, are the other main characters. Can't remember the character's name, but his sister has her whole arc going on, and so there's 3 different things taking place at the same time, as well as the whole city perspective or town perspective. So it's neat seeing all that happen and sort of picking up interest and being more interested in one versus the other as you go through all the episodes. And that's
yeah. I'm already wanting to know more about the police chief. I like that guy a lot. I think he's a great actor.
He's great.
Yeah, it's funny because he plays a cop in one of my favorite movies ever. End of Watch. I don't know if you ended up watching that.
I didn't.
Oh God, dude, he's pretty fantastic in that too. Just one of those guys probably that's fit to play a certain role, and he plays it well. Yeah, that reminded me the beginning whenever he's waking up in his cabin or whatever, and pretty much rinsing his mouth out with Schlitz. That just reminded me of Vince Vaughn in Dodgeball whenever he's washing his mouth out with Yoo-hoo after he brushes his teeth. Yeah.
Gross.
I don't know. That just kind of reminded me of that. It's man, it's fantastic. It's the first Netflix series in a while to really catch me like that, I think.
I think it's one of the first Netflix shows that has, I mean, I don't want to say that because I think a lot of the Netflix originals have their own tone, but it's the first one in a while that has a very unique tone to it that isn't being done anywhere else. Like House of Cards clearly has its own tone, but it's a political drama. I think.
Yeah, you can liken that to The West Wing. I've never seen it, but you could probably
I think it's, yeah, exactly. I think it's better, and the actors are far better. But it's got its own tone. I think Narcos is the same way. It has its own tone, but it's also sort of this crime drug drama show, you know, where Stranger Things has a tone unlike anything else that's being done right now. Aside from, I would argue, *Halt and Catch Fire* is probably the closest that you get to that, is something that's very 80s stylistically. But even then, that's a different take on an 80s style versus the sort of kid show that has an adult story behind it with the sci-fi twist and all that to it that Stranger Things has to it. So.
Yeah, I think from a aesthetic standpoint, I don't know, the tone is pretty similar, I would say, with *Halt and Catch Fire*, because they're really two of the only two kind of 80s retrospectives that I can think of outside of comedy shows like the Goldbergs. And I don't know. I wasn't alive during the 80s except for as a baby. I was in diapers until pretty much the end of the 80s, but I imagine that's, you know, pretty accurate the way that they portray that stuff. So it's done so well. Another, if you've never watched it, Peaky Blinders, that's another Netflix one that.
Yeah, you've told me about that.
That and Bloodline are two fantastic. Bloodline's one show that takes a little bit to get into. I have to. They released a second season a few months ago, or maybe a month ago. I still need to get on that, but that's another good kind of family crime.
I'll watch that just because of
Kyle Chandler. Yeah.
Coach Taylor, yeah.
He's pretty great in it. And so is Ben Mendelsohn. Ben Mendelsohn from Dark Knight and from, I think, from Animal Kingdom, a couple other movies. He's a great actor. And that's they do a great job casting for the most part. But then again, there are so many Netflix originals that I've never even tried to watch, like Lilyhammer and shit like that
Yeah.
It gets
well, I'm the
it's
same way with
probably
Jessica Jones. Like I never even picked it up.
I tried, man. I tried
I'm halfway through season 2 of Daredevil. I need to go back to that, and I'm really enjoying season 2 over season 1. But it got up in a mix with my exams, and then I never finished it off. So I need to do that. I think to that same effect, there's another show that's on Netflix now that also has its own tone, but in a way that's been done, which is a docu-series. But Last Chance U, for any football fan, specifically college football fan, I cannot recommend that show enough. I mean, I burned through that in no time at all, which was really great. So
yeah, that's probably next on my list after I finish Stranger Things, just because the whole Auburn aspect. Everybody, you and everybody else are like, have you watched this yet? You need to see, you gotta, do you know anything about the Auburn quarterback? You gotta watch this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, I didn't know anything about that, and I almost hate that I said it, but I'm glad to hear somebody else said it to you as well. But
yeah,
you don't know any sort of ties to Auburn until later on, which that's not really a spoiler. It's a show about kids getting drafted to different schools after they fail out of said schools. So.
Yeah. Which is funny. Is the whole it's. I'm guessing it's about how you get kicked off of a team, have to go play JUCO like Cam Newton did, or like Nick Fairley did, or any of the Auburn kids that ended up being great successes in the NFL. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I'll definitely have to watch that. I mean, we typically don't talk too much in the world of sports, but I feel so America as fuck right now because of the Olympics.
I do and I don't, because I feel like I'm a sham because I haven't watched any of it aside from little bits and pieces of soccer here and there, and that's
at least watch the swimming. Come on, man.
I've been slacking.
Dude, one of the girls made the Russian girl cry because she was talking so much shit. It was amazing. Did she like
wag her finger at her or something like that?
Not just that, dude, but leading up. So Russia has been in trouble for this whole state sanction.
Oh yeah, I know what's going on. It's not that I'm completely in the dark. Been watching it.
That Efimova girl got busted a year or so ago, whatever. She served a 16-month ban for doping. So the girl from the U.S., I can't remember, her name escapes me right now. But she's talking so much shit leading up. She's like, I really put high expectations on myself. Like, I really put myself out there, and I really needed it. She ended up winning it. And she just kept, in that interview afterwards, she just kept saying, oh, I'm just so glad I won it clean, you know? To win it clean was just the best part. And it's like, it's good to know I could win it clean when they're dirty people. And they made the Russian girl cry. And I was like, yes! This is so satisfying. And then to see Michael Phelps still tearing shit up is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the most now, right? Doesn't he? Hasn't he said the? I think
he set that in London though.
Did he?
18. And he got his 19th in the 400 meter men's free relay, and it's not freestyle, it's relay. But and I think he was he might have already swam again tonight, but he was facing his rival. There's a meme that came out of last night whenever they were in the second round of that, or the qualifiers for the race tonight, where he's just sitting, he's got his hood almost all the way over his face, just staring a hole through Leclos, his biggest rival over the past 8 years that he's just destroyed. But one thing I will say, and this might sound bad, but there's like this stereotype of Chinese athletes from pretty much that they're like robotic kids at birth, and then they take them and they train them from birth to be these machines that compete in the Olympics. And I've seen the absolute opposite of that. I don't know. It's kind of made me happy that that's not necessarily the case. And you're seeing just seeing how happy everybody is to be there. It's weird. And nobody seems like a drone. It's pretty nice. But at the same time, I'm just waiting for some shit to go down in Rio.
Yeah, that's what I've been dreading since the jump. The thing about the Olympics, and that's what I was thinking about this morning, was just I think it goes unnoticed just because it happens every 4 years, but I think it goes without saying that it's a historic event, but just how historic it is kind of hit me this morning, just how long the Olympic Games have been going on for what is that? 2,000 years at least. How many years is it since the first Olympics?
I don't know. It's.
I mean, that's BC at least, right?
I don't know. And then it works like in negatives, right? Where the further you get away from zero is the like.
I want to see 1896. So at least 2,100 years. So
1896.
No. Summer Olympics, modern Greek. Nope, I was definitely wrong. Yep, you're right. That does not say BC.
You're thinking of the ancient Olympics, probably way back.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't that wasn't organized or sanctioned by anybody. That
was just... okay. I just a big dummy. So I guess 1896 was the first the first Olympic Games held in the modern era. It says.
Get that out of here. 1896 isn't modern.
Ancient Olympic Games. Okay. Well, that sucks. It's not as old as I thought it was. I'm going to keep not watching it now. That's lame.
If
100 years, call me when it gets to 200.
Like Kevin ever needed a reason not to keep up with any sort of political or geopolitical, any kind of geographical recent events.
Well, to that point, I have been following politics a hell of a lot more this year as a result of all the shenanigans going on that front. So
maybe we'll touch on that on another episode. I don't know.
No, I don't want to get into it. I'm just saying that I think I'm more into what's going on in the news on that front than I have ever been, just because it's been so ridiculous. So
Gary Johnson, 2016, legalize it.
I'm going Green Party. What's her name? Julie.
Oh my God, dude! You're keeping up with politics, and you can't even. Her name is Jill Stein.
Oh, that's pretty close.
What did you call her, Judy?
Well, what if I got on the ballot?
Judy Bloom? What is this like?
Whenever I
Tales of the third party.
If I go to vote and on the ballot, I'm looking for Julie and see Jill. I'm good. I know that's definitely what I was thinking.
Another news.
So
South Africa's a country. All right. So Stranger Things, Mr. Robot, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not that I haven't been able to like get invested or it's just, I don't understand what's going on.
And I think I'm suffering from not having seen the first season in over a year. And so there's a lot of things that definitely happened that were subplots that I guess I wasn't paying attention to as much as I should have been.
Tyrell's relationship and how obsessed they are with one another, and that seems to be the overarching theme of this season.
That and all the deep web stuff and all of that, and there's a lot of character references, and I knew something happened in the season finale that was like very brief at the very end that happened with the head of Evil Corp and all of that, and I can't remember exactly everything that happened, and so I feel like I'm suffering from that aspect. I love everything that's taking place with Elliot and sort of the fallout from what happened from the first season, and I'm digging all of that, but I think I'm sort of doing myself a disservice by not being up to date on everything that happened in the first season at this point.
Yeah, I think that we would be wrong. I think we'd be wrong to try and make a judgment on this season as of yet. I think that probably better in retrospect to go instead.
Craig Robinson's been great though.
He's so good in that show, dude. Yeah.
I didn't know he was in that until he popped up, and I was like, oh. And I thought he was just going to be a cameo, and he's an actual character, which I've definitely enjoyed.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that he's doing a serious role with semi-serious. Yeah, it's I always love seeing that. Like, I know a lot of people, and we talked about it before. Whatever, I won't touch too much on it. But Vince Vaughn playing Frank Semyon in True Detective. Sometimes those guys, they're just good enough actors, at least from my perspective, to be able to play both of those roles or be able to intermingle those roles. I think I like that Craig Robinson's doing that. I'm just glad he's away from a keyboard or any kind of musical instrument. I understand that's what like his forte is, music and comedy, but sometimes just like Taco Jean Lajoie from The League, it's like, he is 100 times better whenever he's utilized for strict comedy than for him writing songs for that show. It's just, I don't know. That's me though. I'm the kid who fucking hated Disney musicals growing up. or like didn't like dreaded watching certain Disney movies because of the musical numbers in them and everything.
I can see that.
So
like even the animated ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, like Beauty and the Beast and all that. And it's like Lion King was head and shoulders above the rest for me. Like Aladdin, the non-singing parts were pretty good. I know that
Hercules is great. Aladdin's great. Mulan's great.
I had to watch Mulan too many times over the past few years, and I'm okay with never seeing that movie ever again. And the kids my niece and nephew were watching the second one day. That and the Emperor's New Groove.
Emperor's New Groove with David Spade.
And
so great.
David Putty, right? What's his name? Patrick Warburton, wasn't he the?
Yeah, Kronk.
Yeah. If there was a man who could do a voice.
Who did the woman's voice? Was that what's her face from Arrested Development?
I don't know. I thought it was Eartha Kitt from the original Catwoman.
The original Catwoman
from Batman '66, from the Adam West Batman.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it's Eartha Kitt. Did you say Eartha Kitt?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, that's who did it.
Yeah, she does that voice very well. I think that's just her actual voice. I think I don't think that's any acting involved in that.
Yeah, I forgot John Goodman did a voice in it. He was
he was his his sidekick.
Yeah.
Kronk was the bad guy. He was Eartha Kitt's
bad guy, loosely phrased, but
the idiot
exactly.
lackey.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've never even seen the movie, and I know this stuff.
I love that movie. I forgot all about it.
Yeah, I know bits and pieces of that movie. But like Atlantis was great, and that was no singing. I don't think there was any singing involved in that.
Was there singing in Toy Story?
No.
Well, there's never any singing in any of the Pixar movies, were there?
No, you got a friend in me.
I
had to listen to Randy Newman for like, I think 20 minutes of that movie is Randy Newman with B-roll going. B-roll.
It just reminds me of that Family Guy skit with him.
Yeah, we got a whole farm full of fresh food and we have shelter, but we have Randy Newman's in the backyard. Oh God. Yeah. Oh man. So some big, I guess, not necessarily news because it wasn't broken by Game Freak, right? It was leaked on 4chan. But
about the new Pokemon stuff?
Sun and Moon. That wasn't actually officially released yet, was it?
Yeah,
by Game Freak.
It is. It's a magazine in Japan called Koro. So Sarah B scans a lot of the images from it and then posts it online. So for those who don't know, there's another Pokemon game coming out that's not Pokemon Go. It's the 6th, 7th generation?
Hold on.
6th, I think. I feel like it's 6th.
Yeah, 7.
Red and blue, gold and silver,
ruby and sapphire, pearl and diamond,
and then
black and white, X and Y.
So it's 7.
Yeah, it's 7.
So the 7th generation's coming out this fall, first weekend in November, I think it is. Sun and Moon, and it's in the is it Aloha or Alola region?
Alola, yeah. It's
so,
not Hawaii, dude.
Yeah, it's as close as it's gonna get.
Yeah.
So they've been leaking some images, obviously, of some of the new Pokemon, but some of the old faces from Gen 1 are getting new forms, which is awesome. Executor's getting a new form, which is a dragon type, funny enough.
Oh my God.
The memes on it are so ridiculous.
I haven't seen any of that.
It's like it's Gyarados, not dragon type. Charizard, not dragon type. New Executor, dragon type. Vulpix and Ninetale is getting ice and fairy type. Sandshrew and Sandslash is getting an ice type. And my old boy Marowak is getting a fire and ghost evolution, and I can't be more excited about it.
How about, so you and I are going to have some pretty amazing battles, I think, between that, you having that Marowak and me having Alakazam's 4th form, who's also fucking fighting type. He's taking those spoons, and he's starting to fight with them.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
So I think what's crazy to me is I think that most people like us, at least I am assuming you're like me, are more excited about those things than we are about the starters.
Yeah.
The starters have been left to me lacking since Gen 2.
I agree with that. I kind of liked them in Diamond and Pearl. And
I'm trying to remember what Diamond and Pearls were. They're Oshawott and
no, that was Primeape and
not Primeape. Infernape. Yeah.
Infernape. Yeah. Blaziken, I can only remember the fire types because that's what I normally. Yeah, I did not like those.
That was with Swampert. Yeah, that was.
I was gonna say, was that Mudkip?
Yeah,
I did like Mudkip. I did like his evolution.
I heard you like Mudkips. That was like the biggest fucking Pokemon meme for the longest time. Nothing. Honestly, still nothing beats Gen 1 starters. No, nothing ever will. But
Black and White.
I don't know.
I would Black and White the.
Black and White's the fucking Grumpig.
Oh God, Grumpig was so terrible. But what was the Water Otter? What was the Otter?
Oshawott. Yeah, it was Oshawott. That's right.
Yeah.
And Duwat, and then I can't remember the final form of it. They were not great.
And then what was X and Y?
I never played X and Y. I don't have a 3DS or a 2DS, so
I've got it, and I'm blanking on what it was.
I'm gonna have to invest in that too. I'm gonna have to get a new system.
I cannot remember what it was. It's driving me crazy. Well, wasn't there the Firefox in that one? That was that one, right?
No, that was Mozilla.
No, you asshole.
Asshole. Hold on. Starter Pokemon for X and Y.
I know there was the little Firefox dude.
Chespin was the grass type. Fennekin, yeah.
Yeah, Fennekin was the Firefox.
Oh god, that looks so dumb. And then Froakie, the frog for the water type. Yeah, I never played this, and then I never really got that far in Black and White. But I'm finding myself, just because I think the callback to those originals getting new types. I think I'm gonna end up getting Sun and Moon. That comes out in October and November.
First week in November. Dude, there's over all these generations. I keep forgetting. It's hard to keep track of them all at this point. I forgot. There's some really cool ones from X and Y that I forgot all about.
But for all intents and purposes, they all follow along the same tropes, right? They're all the same.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was it was started with Black and White that we got, or was it in X and Y with the Mega Evolutions? Yeah, it was X and Y that gave you the Mega Evolutions, which was really cool seeing Mega Charizard, and you had the black version and the regular version, and they were just souped up forms. You got the X version or the Mega version of Gengar. Those were really cool additions to the game, I thought.
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
Mega Gyarados.
I never even saw those, to be honest.
Yeah, they were really cool. But yeah, I agree with what you said. I think the first two generations definitely had the best starters of all of them, looking back at it. And I think there's some potential, I guess, in this one. But no, I think... And they're hitting it at a perfect time to bring back some of the first gen stuff with Pokemon Go coming out and everybody being so familiar with that. It's kind of neat that inevitably people that are playing Pokemon Go that had no interest in getting X and Y, I think now that still played the games but have been a few years or a few generations removed from it, like having that familiarity with Pokemon Go and first-gen Pokemon back in their brain, and then somehow they'll hear about what's happening in Sun and Moon, it'll end up enticing them into getting Sun and Moon based on that alone.
You know what would be prudent on their part would be to, I know they already re-released not blue and red, but they did green and red. They did fire red and Armor Leaf Green on Game Boy Advance, but they'd also they'd probably make a lot of money if they did a remaster like they did with Heart Gold and Soul Silver and put it out on DS right now, Strike While the Iron's Hot, because there are so many new people that are new to the...
Well, you do know that they do have the originals in the like Nintendo store right
Oh,
now.
that's true. I completely forgot about that. Like,
right. Which I think hits on that point of that nostalgia factor. Without having to remaster it, it's a pretty easy port over for them. They can do that and still sell it and make the money off of it of people that would be buying it anyway. You know,
let's be honest. They're not really needing to make money. I don't know if you watched the video about the inception of essentially from start, like unintentional start to finish of how Pokemon Go came to be.
Yeah, I knew it started with an April Fool's joke, right? With somebody that like kind of made a video showing like walking outside and seeing Pokemon, and then the Google thing that happened where they had it pop up everywhere on April Fool's Day, and then at least that's how I thought it started.
This goes back further than I can't remember the guy's name who started Niantic, but and it also opened my eyes. I didn't know that Google was they're an investor on Pokemon Go. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the guy that actually started it.
He created Google Maps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's how he got into doing Ingress.
So that's what they said. 96. It started 20 years ago. He built a game that he sold to 3DO for a decent amount of money, and then he ended up using that money to develop what would eventually be like Google Maps, Google Street View, that kind of thing. And he made a ton of money, and then he made Ingress, which was obviously Ingress is it's the basis. It's the underlying architecture for Pokemon Go, just probably on different servers and with different overlays on them. But then he ended up getting that $25 million investment between the Pokemon Company, Nintendo, and then Google. All gave him $25 million to hire 41 people, and they ended up They raised that capital from those three companies between, I think, December of last year and February of this year, and ended up getting that team together.
Back in one day.
Yeah, you know how much they make a day.
Wasn't it something like some like 125 million or some crazy?
No, they make 2 million a day on in-app purchases. Like,
okay, maybe I was thinking 1.25 million. Then I don't know where I got that number from, but
no,
either way, that's still a shit ton of money a day.
Yeah, you're talking about, I think, Farmville, and at the height of those Zynga games, they were not making near that much. And it's tailed off, but I still think that even in August, it's probably the most heavily used among daily active users.
Oh yeah, I checked today on top free apps, and it's still at the top. So, no, there's no doubt, but they're on the razor's edge of fucking it up. Like big time. I mean, there's a lot of hardcore players that started day one that are getting frustrated, and any game that's like that has a hardcore grind, and the carrot at the end of the stick is going to get less and less enticing as time goes on, and that's an inevitability. But whenever you compound that with very poor PR or social media relations with your community, or any sort of communication whatsoever for that matter, with the community, and then you're constantly releasing updates that are just breaking your game even more and tearing apart the community that's been built around it with resources that the community's created because the game is lacking in some aspects. Like, good game developers embrace community advances in games. I think
Destiny is a perfect example of that. Create an
Fallout's API. Bethesda's another good example of that. Like, they know that modding is a big part of that world, and so bringing those endeavors to console is a really smart move on their part, and actually embracing it. I think, like I said, I think smart developers embrace it, and so to see Niantic be so against the community developing things that aren't in the game that are bettering the player experience is really sad to see.
It's so horribly Apple of them to do. It's like to create that closed environment that you really don't let other people into. So
but
you're
Apple
right.
At least has a product that's pretty fucking airtight. Like, that's the difference. Is like
airtight is relative. From working on it, developing.
No, I get that. But that's somebody that's working on it versus somebody that's using it. From a user perspective, Apple products are pretty good to go out the box, several year lifespan, very little issues.
It's true, but again, these are I guess I was pretty much comparing apples to oranges, because you're really talking about a platform that stuff lays upon, and then as opposed to a product. So you're right. So it's way smarter. It's a way smarter investment to have free community development, to not
Exactly.
pay six-figure salaries for developers to be developing these side I don't know, these ancillary products that
Right.
consumers want to use alongside your app, when you could be that's perfect. Bungie has a team that they need to dedicate to create content, not to be creating these tools for people to use.
Right.
And there are people out there that spend their lives as their free time as a hobby, or whether it's to add to portfolio or whatever, but they're going to be using these free community tools like API that Bungie has for Destiny, or for any of the Bethesda games in the Steam Workshop, or anything like that. Those are perfect platforms for people to. There are plenty of people who've gotten jobs based off of that, and I think that's a big enough carrot on the stick for them to continue development outside of the game, and to be able to save resources to actually develop real in-game content for the consumer. It's way smarter to put your actual in-house developers on that, as opposed to putting them on stuff like closing out the community from building.
Exactly.
I'm guessing you're talking about the resources to see where things are, the geo-tracking,
Yeah, so
the cataloging.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, Pokemon Go launched, vanilla Pokemon Go launched with a tracker option in the UI that enabled you to see Pokemon based on their relative distance from you, with a system that they had devised with a footstep counter below the actual Pokemon on the screen. So if it was 1 footstep below it, it was close to you. If it was 3, it was further away, and they would filter up through the list as you got closer to them. Then they released an update that then made it flat line. All of them had 3 footsteps away, so you didn't know when you were close or when you were far away from things. Their order on the actual list was arbitrary and made 0 sense. So then this other guy made a browser-based application called Pokevision, which took that information that Pokemon Go was already generating with where the spawns were, and then you could use almost Google Maps essentially to see where they were based on your proximity to them. So it made a lot of the guesswork. You still had to go to those places to catch them, obviously. But for me, whenever I'm going to a park that's 400 yards wide by 600 yards long, and the tracker only picks up something within 100 yards, like, it cuts down on a lot of the aimless wandering without any payoff whenever I'm clearly out there to catch a specific type of Pokemon, and having that map on there whenever the tracker's broken cut down on a lot of that guesswork. So then Niantic releases an update that takes the footsteps out of it completely, and all hell breaks loose, because along with that, they threaten legal action to Pokevision to take down their website, and then therefore blocks all access that they had to the servers, even through the use of a proxy, and Pokevision gets taken down, and the player base is left completely in the dark to fend for themselves, essentially, at that point. So and I think that the creator of Pokevision had probably the best way to put it, and I can kind of leave it at that, which was, he had tweeted out something to the effect of, you don't invent Marco Polo and get 90 million people to play it and then take out the Polo part of it and expect people to keep playing it. And that's exactly what Pokemon Go did.
Yeah, that's true. I think that Niantic has a point, but not to that extent. I think as a geocaching game, I think they definitely have a point in making they want people to scout as opposed to.
I don't disagree with that.
Right, but at the same time, if it gets to the point where you're talking about it being an aimless wandering, then it kind of defeats the purpose. So you need to have. The carrot needs to exist. You need to be able to find the carrot at the end of the stick to be able to chase it. And if it's not there, then yeah, it really does become aimless.
All that said, over the past week, Niantic actually released another update to the game yesterday, and they're doing some small scale, almost like beta testing for a new system for the tracking, which has 2 categories, which is nearby and sightings. So if somebody catches something in the area, it will go to nearby, and it actually brings up an image of a nearby landmark for that pops up behind where the Pokemon's at. So you kind of have some sort of visual cue to something in the area where it would be at, and then it will also bring up on your map a small radius on where it's somewhere in that area. So it still keeps that concept of having to look to find it, but it narrows it down substantially more than just knowing it's somewhere within a half a mile of you. But it's just at a small player base right now. We don't know how it's going to be rolled out, but it seems like they're making improvements. But again, it goes back to what I was saying. They're on a razor's edge with the whole deal at this point. Like, I refuse to spend any money in game until everything is up and running and accessible, because I don't know what's going to happen with it. You know, they tout that only 10% of the features that they have planned for the game are actually in it right now. Well, of that 10%, how much is actually functioning whenever you cut out all the fat, you know?
Yeah, but at the same time, that's pretty much any good developer can say that only 10% of their roadmap's been hit, that 90% of the features that they want are still on the roadmap for the next, because otherwise what's the point?
Right, but you need to have a player base to get to that other 90%.
That's true.
That's what I'm concerned about.
So essentially, I don't know if you agree, from what it sounds like, they've put the gasoline on the bridge, but they've yet to light the match.
Right. So we'll see where it goes. I'm still playing it. I still have a ton of fun. I'm fortunate enough that Amber and I both love Pokemon and always have. We're getting Sun and Moon, and this came out, is right up our alley. I think you're still playing it, correct?
Yeah, I played it this weekend for like the longest I've played it in a single, not a sitting because I was walking, but yeah, I walked about 5 miles. It only tracked 5K of it.
That's another big issue, right? I mean, again, it's the whole thing. If you're doing a geocaching thing and your actual GPS stuff isn't working, that's a little bit of a red flag.
So Google Fit, the app that I use that runs in the background, and it can detect the accelerometer when you're moving, and the GPS, it utilizes the same maps that are being used to use.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing with the Apple Health that's built into the iPhone. Like, why is that an issue? Why is that ever an issue for distance traveled whenever all smartphones have that coding built into it? It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
No, it's even worse for people who use Google Fit, because it is using the exact same map and coordinate system that this game is supposed to be using.
Exactly.
How is this? I understand that Google Fit is built to strictly track your shit whenever you're walking, running, biking, whatever, and it's, more sole purpose is that. And then there's a lot more going on with Pokemon Go. But at the same time, if that can fucking work in the background,
exactly,
and I have my screen on, burning my arm while I'm running.
That's the other thing, is you have to have it has to be always open. Like, why? There's so many frustrating parts of the game, but at the same time, it strikes such a perfect chord with people that played it 20 years ago? Is it 20th anniversary this year? I mean, and I was playing it 18 years ago or whenever it was. It may have been 20 years ago. I don't even remember. I mean, what was that? Yeah, I guess I was playing it. Well, no, it would have been 18 years ago. But still, I mean, it hits that chord where it's like, oh my God, this is what this game has always needed to be. And it's so perfect whenever it's working right, but it's so blindingly frustrating whenever it's not working. And there's so many flaws in it. And so it's like, I have hope that they'll figure it out, but I don't know where it's going. And until then, I'm just kind of left wandering still.
Yeah.
But I will say it's been a blast to play. I mean, I've gone to a lot of places around town I wouldn't have gone to otherwise. It's been great when I've not been running as much lately as I had been a couple months prior. So I'm still getting out and getting steps and walking around, even if it only counts half of them. I know I'm out there getting them. So it's been fun.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the last thing that I was going to say with it. Oh, I was just going to say this has to be a catalyst for hardware manufacturers to come up with better cooling systems for phones, because at this point, that and batteries, I mean, this necessity, it's becoming a necessity. Like this, like legitimately, I'm trying to go out and just go run while I have the app open, and my phone having an aluminum body is burning my arm while I'm running.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not fun times, but At the same time, I've had a lot of fun. We still need to go out together, and we haven't done that yet. But other than Chastain, when that that was funny. So we went to a show. I guess it was a month ago now, right?
Yeah.
So we went to that Modest Mouse and Brand New show, and was at Chastain Amphitheater in Atlanta. And turns out it's a Pokestop. And turns out that every single person that was there, I don't know, maybe 8 out of 10 people were definitely playing it. Somebody dropped a lure on it, and that was game over. Yeah, legitimately game over. Everybody got on, and the whole.
Well, that was before the servers were sorted out, so the servers kept crashing, and that was shortly after it came out, and that was right at the jumping point for me mentally from going and being insanely excited every time I saw someone playing and surprised that so many people were playing to now anytime I see somebody with their phone assuming that they're playing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And they're getting to the point where they have the alerts, like they're adding new alerts in every day, it seems like, to hey, no driving, and they're like trying to safeguard against that, probably legal issues, but same thing as Snapchat does. Like if somebody's recording a video while they're going more than 15 miles an hour.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it pops up a little message. Doesn't stop you from doing it. It just pops up a little message that says, "Don't snap and drive." That kind of thing. So,
well, I guess it couldn't stop you because, inevitably that's the option that comes up on all of them is passenger, and that very well could be the case. So other than Pokemon, we hinted about it, what other developers are doing, but Destiny, we've got some Destiny news. I feel like every time we record, even though it's spotty and it comes in 8-month increments, we always come back to the game that we're still both playing. Not as much. It's not every night, all night, every weekend, all weekend, but we're still playing it
in a couple weeks.
Exactly. We're still playing it every week, a couple of times a week. But Rise of Iron, the Iron Lords are coming into the Destiny's next expansion, which launches September 20th. I'm pretty excited. New raid, new armor for Trials of Osiris, which I'm excited about.
Wait, you mean they're not just recycling and calling it something different?
Yeah, exactly. And just giving it a new icon on the screen, but it's still the exact same.
Still never made sense to me. It's like, okay, we're gonna make a bunch of brand new weapons that people can. That's what people care about. Like, fuck the armor, right? Let's just recycle what we already used and call it something different.
So we're getting a lot of new content.
New raid, say no more, fam. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I really care about.
Exactly. So I'm really excited. I think we're going to do this one right, and it'll be the first time in 3 years. Shit, dude, we're going into year 3, man. That's so crazy. Destiny's going into year 3, but we're going into year 3 and the 4th raid, and hopefully we'll finally get into the first raid together, going into it for the first time blind and getting to do it the first time in the same fire team, because we got close. You missed Vault of Glass and Crota, and then came in for Prison of Elders, which isn't a raid, and then did Taken King, but you did Taken King like a week or two after I had run through it. So it
sucked because I think I was traveling for work or something like that the week. I couldn't get a high enough light level to run it with you.
Right. So
that shit ain't happening again.
So so it'll be fun. We'll get that worked out. And then we also, I jokingly say we're still playing Destiny. It's not a joke, but it's funny. As a result of us playing it so much and playing with the same people, we're also, me, you, and Amber are going to set up a little meet and greet with the rest of our raid group that we've been playing with for 2 years now.
Fucking nerds.
So I'm really excited about that. We got some friends down in Gainesville.
Much to the chagrin of somebody's spouse, we are going to be going down and meeting some people that we're going to get catfished.
Yeah, exactly.
We should catfish them. We should show up and look completely different than. Not that they would. No, I guess they would know what we looked like, but. Yeah, it's crazy. It's good. So one of the best things about a game like that, and pretty much any game that you could find with end game content that just keeps you coming back, like Diablo. I don't even know if Diablo is like that, but the LFG and stuff on the app and Destiny, it's the community is so great, and met a lot of people that we play with on a consistent basis that. You know, a lot of games normally you wouldn't find that kind of sort of camaraderie, but
Right.
I think just the mix of PvP and PvE in that game is just fantastic.
And like I said, it's frustrating, especially whenever I had first started out with the raids with Vault of Glass and Crota, where there was no matchmaking system, and it was really frustrating trying to get a full raid group and stuff like that. And of the several hundred players I've played with at this point, I'd say having that core group of, like I said, I think we've got about 5 players outside of us 3 that we play with on a regular basis and talk to each other on a first name basis. It's worth having to deal with those frustrations to have these like friendships that wouldn't have happened any other way that live 2 state lines over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, they're just across the Florida-Georgia line.
Yeah, I guess they are.
Let's go and get this thing stuck.
Might as well be 2 states.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's great. So one of the more frustrating things that you will run across in playing with randos, blueberries, is that you run into some real dickheads that can't take somebody losing or somebody dying during a raid. Well,
I think that happens even in our regular raid group.
Not lately though. Not, and Kevin's laughing because it's usually me that gets shit on about everything.
Well, it's also not been a raid group more so than a trials group that happens.
Yeah. One of us is completely immune to blame.
Don't say that. I take fault when it's my fault, and I will jump on the grenade whenever it's my fault gladly.
You will throw somebody on their own grenade, though.
It's not my fault that happens few and far between everyone else jumping on their own grenade.
God. Oh my god.
No, see, if you guys spent less time jumping on grenades and more time throwing them, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
So that's one of the good things too that Rise of Iron's going to bring is a lot of fresh blood and a lot less fucking MLG players to be a lot less streamers that are going to be dominating the competitive game types and making it completely unplayable on the weekends. Yet we still keep going back and taking the abuse.
Yep. That was me Saturday. I mean, Saturday night, whenever we got done with trials, I was like, I'm done. I'm not playing trials anymore.
And then Sunday, you get back on.
And then Sunday, I get on with randoms.
This asshole would rather play with random.
And I was furious.
Well, guess what? You didn't go to the Lighthouse with them either. So, same result.
Closer.
No.
It's more fun.
No, that sounds a lot more frustrating to you. We went, 3-4 weeks straight where we went 8-1. That was just it makes my blood boil.
Yeah, ridiculous.
No, so, yeah, new raid is definitely the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. But at the same time, I'm super excited that Bungie came out and we're talking about how most of their development team has been working on Destiny 2, and that most of the resources at the moment are dedicated to that, because I'm excited for new content, but at the same time, I'm hoping for a new game where I'm able to start from scratch.
Right.
Just ground up experience. I think it'd be fantastic. But
I doubt it'll be from scratch. I think they have to port over the Guardians. I cannot see them.
I want them scrapped. I want them to fucking scrap the weapons and the gear.
They can't do that, dude.
God, it's so lazy to me.
If it was Diablo, I would say okay, because there was an 8-year span in between games. But whenever you're only doing 3 years in between, you've got to port all that stuff over. I mean, that's
okay, but leave the gear a generation behind.
I can see that.
Don't bring it forward. Like I hate that. To me, that is horribly lazy, right? To say, let's not design a new rocket launcher. How about we just bring back the Gallahorn and call it Iron Gallahorn? And
well, I can see that. I can
bring back fucking Thorn. Like, come on, I'm gonna have to play Trials for a year with people playing with Thorn.
So what I'm saying is I don't want to get Destiny 2 and lose my Warlock. Like, they're not going to get rid of the classes. I don't want to have to start, and it makes no sense for them to kick Voidwalker, Sunsinger, and Stormcaller. I don't want to start that shit over from scratch.
That's true.
I want some new subclasses, obviously. It'd be cool to find a new race. I think that would be really cool, and I'm sure people would love that if they brought in 1 or 2 new races.
You get to play with the fucking Fallen. That would be awesome.
Yeah, what if something happens in Rise of Iron that we don't know about?
Ooh, you smoke a ton of sativa and then you get the plague and you get the munchies and you end up becoming a fallen.
So I think there's a lot of possibilities with Rise of Iron. I'm really excited about it. What I'm not excited about is the prospect of it being another year before any substantial content. But I'm willing to sacrifice that if it's a whole new game.
But we get a week of Halloween. We get the
Sparrow Racing League was fun.
That was fun. I will give you that.
And I'm excited to see that come back.
The way that people talk about Festival of the Lost as being content, it's an event. It's not content. Yeah, exactly. Sparrow Racing League was fun because it's different.
Yeah.
And you can get.
And it was content. You had different armor stuff and different things that you would unlock as a result of it. And it was content, in my opinion.
Yeah, just not cardboard fucking masks that you wear and candy and all that stuff. It's so stupid.
I enjoyed Festival of Lost. I mean, I'm not saying it was the end all be all, but it was pretty fun.
But at the same time, to tout it as new content, like the Crimson Days was more new content because you got a new game type.
Yeah, that's true, and you got new gear and stuff like that versus Festival of the Lost, where you didn't get anything that you actually kept.
Right.
I mean, you kept the masks, but it doesn't do anything. You don't carry your light over on it. Now, if you could infuse those, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would walk around with a fucking skull helmet. Yeah, I would never take that off.
Hands down.
I don't care what stats it had. As long as it's 335 light, I'd wear that everywhere.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of stuff on my list that I think that we should probably just table because a lot of it's not necessarily that. No Man's Sky, I guess it's topical because it came out today.
So you don't have a PS4. And oh wait, or did Danny leave his?
No, he didn't. He took it with him.
Oh, okay. Did he get it? Do you know?
He canceled it actually. Because it was originally supposed to come out in March.
That's right. That's right.
So he was like, "Where the fuck is my game?" And ended up canceling it. So
gotcha. Yeah, I'm debating picking it up just because it's going to be another month and a couple of weeks.
There'll be a price drop in a few months, dude.
Well, what I'm thinking is I'm not going to be getting any games after September 20th. I mean, you've got Gears or not? Yeah, you've got Destiny: Rise of Iron September 20th, and then just like 3 weeks later is when all hell breaks loose between Gears of War, Battlefield 1, Call of Duty, Titanfall 2,
Pokemon X and Y.
Pokemon,
or not X and Y, but Sun and Moon.
Sun and Moon. And I feel like there's something else that I'm missing. But yeah, I mean, there's like 6 games coming out, and I know a couple of them are going to drop, but some of them I'm definitely like, there's no way I don't get Gears 4. There's no way I don't get Titanfall 2. There's no way I don't get either Battlefield or Call of Duty. One of those two will be bought. I'm definitely getting Pokemon. So, and then Rise of Iron. That's 7 games, right? 6.
God.
Yeah. Not counting a Rock Band update that's coming out at the end of the year, supposedly.
That I have on my list, but we could talk about that next week because I'm not too thrilled about a lot of the stuff that I've discovered with Rock Band 4. It's not made me a happy camper.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, how much content is gated even to purchase. It's fucking annoying that I can't buy one of the songs that I want from Rock Band 2 because I didn't export Rock Band 2 to Rock Band 3 in a certain time span. Come on, Harmonix, get your shit together.
Yeah. So how about this? I've got a couple things on my list too. We can whet the appetite for next episode.
Okay. Wet it up. So maybe by then we'll have seen Suicide Squad?
I think so.
Okay. There are a lot of albums that have come out, that are coming out, that I'm super excited about. And then, the Rock Band stuff, man. There's a lot that I want to talk about with that just because we're back in the game and there's a lot to be critical about. I'm not happy. But at the same time, I'm happy. But I'm not happy.
Yeah. So to that same point, Suicide Squad, I've just got San Diego Comic-Con in general. There's a lot of Marvel news that's come out, a lot of new things coming out. Looking forward to maybe even get JP on sometime in the next couple months. Maybe not next week, but next couple months. We got Rogue One coming out towards the end of this year. Got a lot looking forward to that. I saw the teaser. I tried to avoid it, but I got sucked into watching it during one of the movies we went and saw. Got force fed it. So, yeah, we got lots to talk about. And with us being on every week now, we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. So, that said, thanks for joining us, guys. It feels great to be back. Tim, I hope this was as good for you as it was for me.
I've had better.
So that said, don't find Tim online. You can only find me at The Architect. That's at _ARC, the number 1 TECT. And that's a licensed architect now. So I should do a comma AIA at the back end of it, but I'll
official Arc One Rect.
You can find us both at Banter Podcast. And Tim, where can they find you at?
You can find me at Tim Herb. It's my name.
And you'll find us both back here sooner than you think, a hell of a lot sooner than 8 months down the road. And we look forward to it. Until then, thanks for joining us for an all new episode of the Banter Podcast.
Thanks, guys. Bye.